Back again for another one. Ryan and we did a show together. It went great, great chemistry. We were trying to figure out behind the scenes what excuse can we have to get together again to talk about
Blather
something
on
else.
about bullshit.
Right. And we were thinking like, the next encounter will probably be in May for potentially the new Star Wars TV show.
All right. And then this tiny movie called The Batman came out.
Right, which we both happen to love as well. And we happened to see it together with some friends as well. And
Some friend, dude, you invited like 20, 30 people.
But they're all cool people.
Vain, valid point.
They were all Batman fans. They were all Batman fans. And you know what? And I used to throw these parties at the house, and we just had like these movie marathons where we watch cartoons and stuff all day, and have popcorn, and I make like gumbo, and we have hot dogs and movie theater candy and stuff like that. And we just chill all day, just being big kids.
Right.
The family would leave the house, and we just kind of pull all the couches and chairs together, and we just sit back and just chill. And then sometimes if it was a movie leading up to a movie that was just released, we'll just kind of watch the previous movies and sit there all day from the morning time, and then the evening we go to the theater to watch a movie together. And so I was kind of missing everybody and missing that vibe, and just playing around with the idea of what to do and how to bring that back. And I figured,
I say you kicked it off pretty damn well. So
well, thank you. Well, like, let's rent a theater and sit back and enjoy the thing that we love together. Like I said, I'm also glad to see everybody. Also glad you came through. It was just really nice, and I think I needed it, but it was fun, and I think everybody had a good time.
Well, it helped. It was a good movie. Let's just
get
that out of the way.
Man, yeah, I wouldn't want to have to apologize for hijacking folks, having them sit through something that was a bad experience. So I am so glad that it did work out.
So I usually have the experience of when I walk out of a mediocre. I'm going to pronounce that right. A not good movie. I say the words. Right. I can usually go on for like half an hour, if not longer, about and this was bad and why they did. Usually though, like really good movies, like I'm thinking back to when we walked out of Black Panther, there's maybe like 5 minutes of just like, oh, that was good or that was good, blah blah blah. But it's like your brain is just like so like, oh yeah, it was so fun, it was so like, but this was the weird inversion of that, where it was really good and I could articulate all the things. It's like, okay, this, I liked this was good, this was great, ding. Like, it was very interesting because usually, like, you'd say like a Marvel movie like Black Panther, you do get lost in it, right? You're engaged, but you're not like noticing or critically thinking about stuff, right? You're just sort of in the flow. This one was odd because I was on the edge of my seat in the flow, and not like trying to like, oh, where's this next scene going? But just like, oh, wow. I saw the director's hand calling attention to things and pointing things out and dialogue things, like just I was like, oh, ooh, ah, oh, like not red flags, but just very clear green flags of note this, we're coming back to it later. Like it's a very well constructed movie.
Yes, it was. And I think part of it probably popped out to you as it did with me is because we had so many, this is like the umpteenth Batman film. We saw so many different interpretations, good, bad, and indifferent throughout the years. And so for them to, for this to be, like I said, the umpteenth Batman movie, and for them to have something new to say with it, because my first thing I was dreading was thinking like, I gotta sit through this whole thing again. I gotta go see the Waynes get shot in the alley and the pearls falling and all this other kind of stuff.
Got to skip that.
Because every Batman movie has that in there. So it's just like certain kind of things you're like, okay, I just want to get to the good part in a way.
It's funny. Yeah. So I want your take on this. It's the very first scene of the movie. And we learn later that it's Riddler, and he's watching into an upscale manor house, and you see the kid dressed as a ninja, and then you see him coming and playing with his dad, and I'm like, is this Bruce? Are they just doing it like
that's interesting.
As it turns out, the connection between that kid, which turns out to be the mayor's son, the mayor's going to get killed by the Riddler. Like, there is definitely a massive parallel that they set up between the mayor's son and Bruce. But I was watching that scene. I'm like, are we starting the flashback? Like, oh, no.
Now, answer me this. Didn't they have a voiceover? Yeah.
I don't think so. If I'm remembering correctly, I haven't had a chance to rewatch it yet.
Yeah.
I think it opens on that scene because it cuts from the outside looking in, and the kid and the mom go off for trick-or-treating, and then we cut into the living room where we find out the mayor running for re-election, right? Because he's watching it on the TV. We get that whole setup of the dynamic that's going on. It's sort of setting up the central tension within Gotham through that scene. As ironically, once he steps to the side, the mayor, and you see that Riddler is just standing there in the shadows behind him.
The glasses reflected on.
Right. You see the other tension of the scene.
Yeah.
Like, it's the Hitchcock, you show the audience that there's a bomb in the room, but you don't let the characters know that there's a bomb in the room. Right. It's a horror trope of, we know there's a monster in the house. They don't know there's a monster in the house.
Right. When I saw that scene with the binoculars, for some reason I didn't think that was Bruce.
The ninja outfit threw me off.
I was kind of curious though. I'll say this, that made me more so think that later on, when the whole situation kind of happens and the encounter happens, I was like, yeah, well, you're a potential ward of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. I think
you already show potential into that, that line of work.
Right. And it's funny because, so the original, classic death of the Wayne parents is that they're walking out of a showing of Zorro.
Yep.
But it's, he's dressed as a ninja Batman, not a huge stretch. But I think there was at some point someone made some sort of glib reference to Zorro. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was a penguin, but there was a couple references to previous movies and sort of the other mythos and stuff. But it was very subtle. You really have to be paying attention.
I will say this. So when they we'll go back a little bit, but just to touch on that. When I did see that, and I saw the situation would happen with the, Riddler having his first victim, being the mayor and everything, and the whole thing happening, and it's kind of like I don't want to jump it, but it doesn't matter. Okay.
Jump around the whole movie.
Okay. To me, the way I took it was the mayor's son and the situation happened with the mayor, that was that rendition of the Waynes dying. We're seeing Batman being created through Batman looking at somebody else's situation.
Yes.
They gave it to us without giving it to us.
Exactly.
So we got the same feel.
Because when Batman shows up into the crime scene, and the cops are there, and I liked all the dynamic of clearly not all the cops were on Team Batman.
Right. Nor should they be.
Right. But he goes, he inspects the scene, which I think they did really, really well to set up the detective Batman.
Yeah.
But then on his way out, and he sees the kid.
Yeah.
And he just sort of locks eyes with the kid. I don't know, 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And the audience is like, because everyone fucking knows Batman's origin story.
Yeah.
His parents were killed.
Yeah.
And you can just read the fuck, that's another me. And it's all I felt he was telling the kid, I'm going to find who did this.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it's not meant for the kid to understand that.
Right.
It's Bruce telling himself, I'm going to find out who fucking did this.
Yeah. Like I said,
right. It worked
saw him. Yeah.
So well. And it also sets up for later in the film that they are the same.
Yeah, but I thought it was a slick way of giving his origin without having to do it. Because even the way he was like talking about, oh, the kids saw it. 'Cause I even remember seeing that in a movie where, you know, it was Bruce Wayne though, but they were kind of like, oh, you know, the kid saw his parents die, and everybody's looking at him like, oh, poor Bruce Wayne, and he was kind of like talking to the commissioner, and it's gonna be all right, Bruce, kind of thing. 'Cause we've seen that so many different times and ways.
Right.
So, like I said, it was almost like, you know, Batman seeing his own story. That was very slick. And cool, because that kind of started the movie off with the death of a well-to-do family, and you know, so it was very neat, and it was so cool that they introduced
and another closed circle, because we find out that Thomas Wayne, his dad, also ran for mayor in this version,
with all that stuff. But I thought it was really cool when they kind of started off too, when Batman gave his almost like his war journal entry date and everything. And I was thinking like, it's very interesting that you're saying the month and the day, but you're not saying the year.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of interesting, but I thought it was kind of cool.
That's clever because it allows the movie to age a lot better. Yes.
And so he was kind of describing his situation in Gotham and stuff, and the things about the shadows, and it reminded me of the Batman animated series. You know, when they have the blimps. The blimps shooting down the light on the criminals on the ground, the criminals looking at the light and seeing a bat signal and running because they don't know where he's going to be, and that whole thing where Batman possibly couldn't be everywhere at one time because he's just a human, and the fact that bat signal had the people scared because they didn't know which shadow he was going to be in.
Yes,
he's in all the shadows. So it's just like that fear factor is his accomplice. That the idea of him, the fear of him, is what makes it so powerful, because you don't know when you're going to come across the wrong shadow.
Right.
And the bad guys know it.
They're looking into the shadows.
Yes.
Right? Like terrified children at a campfire, like the edge of the light. What's out there? It could be me.
Right. He had the Joker gang up there, you know, spray painting the walls and stuff, and they dropped his can rolled into the shadows. He was like,
I'm not picking it up.
I'll get a new can. It's not worth it.
So the other thing that I liked about, because he comes out of the shadows, not just in that scene, but in a couple other scenes. I know where he goes to the DA, right? When the DA's got the bomb around his neck, he basically sneaks into that building, even though there's a police cordon around the whole thing.
Right.
And the cops are like, how the fuck did he get in?
Right.
And I think there was a third, but I can't place it. But he sort of announces himself, right? Mr. Ninja very clearly is like making footsteps. The ominous sort of announcement of his presence before he shows up on screen.
Right.
And it's very much intentional on Bruce's part of the theatrics, to build up the tension and to terrify them.
Right.
Because they also establish the other trope, the at this point comedic cliche trope of Batman will be talking to Jim Gordon and just fucking disappear. And he does it, but it's different this time. So he can be quiet and sneak away, which he does.
Right.
But unlike the other times where it's just like, you know, he just fucking leaves like some asshole, and it's kind of played as a joke.
Right.
The one time he disappears on Gordon is when they're in the orphanage, and he starts to suspect that the Riddler knows that he's Bruce Wayne.
Right, he got ghost quick. It was
right.
It was
so
funny.
it was less of like I'm trying to remember the specifics. I don't think he was running to go to a place to stop something where he's like, oh, I know what the next thing is. It felt to me as much of like, oh shit, I'm fucked. He knows who I am, and then ghosted.
So he did it that time when he was inside the Riddler spot, and he starts seeing the Riddler says, you know, he thinks that the Batman is, and had a picture of Bruce Wayne. And then he had that file that was on the computer, and they was trying to, you know, decode it so he could get into it. So he starts seeing like, oh, he's reading the room and seeing all this stuff, like it's pointing to me, like I gotta go. So he kind of he disappeared on that one. And then he disappeared also, like you said, when he was in the orphanage, when he realized that the next target was going to be Bruce Wayne. So his butt was in the Batmobile trying to get back home, and he's trying to call Alfred.
Oh, that's right, Alfred.
No,
that's right. That was so well done.
I hate to skip to this part, but I hated the fact that Alfred opened that envelope. Why would he? What would make Alfred think to open that? He knows better than that. You know what I mean? And this is not the Alfred, the old Alfred. This is the Alfred that's been through some stuff, Alfred, that would know better than just to open up.
It certainly seems like it. Like he's got the scar on the eyebrow.
Right.
Like it seems like a bit of rough and tumble.
Yes.
Alfred.
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of interesting that he opened it, especially when his name wasn't on it, and he knew that they were getting weird, letters and stuff from the Riddler in the first place.
Yeah, I feel like that is one of the things where it's like, again, it's a writer's choice, because you can make your villains and your protagonists so cautious and so competent, like you write yourself into a corner. But to have Alfred going through Bruce's mail in a less paranoid sense does totally make sense. He's his very trusted butler. He's his surrogate dad. He would be opening his mail because he's fucking ignoring everything else. He's ignoring the business to be Batman. So on that sense, it makes sense. But also the no, you're still a fucking billionaire. We should probably have someone else checking your mail, doing an X-ray, like little paranoia. But it robs that particular avenue.
But it did say Batman on it, and for that reason, he knows what he's dealing with, because everybody else is getting caught up in these situations. Everybody.
Yeah, and Alfred was in the loop on that.
Yeah,
but he was too fucking late. Because that's the other thing. He was opening the other one, and he already had the other package with the bomb. Yeah. And instead of like turning it over slowly, it should have been like he went totally still for a second,
right?
Like looked around with his eyes, like sort of assessed what he could jump behind, and just throw it and dive, which he did, and is the only reason he's not dead. Right.
Well, I thought it was cool too, the twist where you thinking that it's real time with Batman trying to contact Alfred, so he's trying to call. And then the secretary picks up, and he's like, "Tell Alfred,
I gotta get a hold of him right now. I gotta stop something terrible from happening."
And it
already
late.
Did
an hour ago. We've been trying to call you to let you know. And I was like, "Wow, that was a good twist. I loved it." But back to the beginning, I thought it was very powerful. The first showing of Batman, when, like I said, they played with the whole shadow thing about 2 times before in the beginning, and then that third time when it was in the subway station, he actually stepped out.
Walking out.
Boy, that was just so. And they wasn't shying away from the fight scenes, man. I don't never remember seeing him fight anybody one-on-one. He's always been fighting a gang of folks. He's always just in a situation, and he
never had a solo fight.
Right. It doesn't seem like he's handling them for sure. But
he's taking hits.
He's taking hits, and
he's not perfect.
Right. But even if he was, it was more like he's biting off more than he could chew situation. But it's not like he couldn't handle himself, but it was just so many folks, and he was just holding his own.
And another thing about the shadows, let's talk about the lighting in this movie, because beautifully shot. Like, again, most of it is at night. You got Batman in black. There was never once, aside from those moments when he is hiding in shadows and he walks out into the light, where you couldn't clearly see the action that was happening.
Yeah.
There was never once where I'm like, oh, it's too fucking dark. What's happening? No. It was beautifully lit, could coherently track all the action. There was none of this on the fight scenes in particular. There is a way to hide bad action, which is you have a lot of fast jump cuts, right? Instead of just, we're gonna kind of let it sit in a medium shot for a good 4 or 5 seconds at least before we make another legitimate motivated cut.
Yeah.
Right? You could track the action as it moved through the room. The fight choreography, along with the cinematography in general, but in specific for those fights, was well done. You could track the whole thing. See him making choices of like, crap, the bat, boom, and just like clocking that dude. Oh
yeah, because even when he's in pitch black, they would use like the firing of the gun to light up the moves.
Oh, the equilibrium scene.
I loved
that.
It.
Was so perfect.
It was clean. It was
that
clean.
was so good.
Yeah.
Like it is on the level of the equilibrium scene, but it makes sense. It was perfect. It is made sense within that scene.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not him using the gun that lights up. Yeah. It's everyone that he's fighting in the dark.
Exactly. But it also had a touch of Batman 89, like when Batman was fighting the guys in the alley and Vicky Vale was taking pictures at the moments he was punching people and they would just flash. So it almost seemed like, like the old TV show with Anna West, like they would punch and be like blam or whatever. You see those like flashes of words and stuff. Well, in 89 Batman, when he was fighting those, Vicky Vale's taking pictures and the flash would match up with his hits to give it emphasis and stuff like that. So it's neat that if you're creative enough, you could translate things in certain kind of ways. And it's just like, man, it's just too cool.
And it's a layer, right? It doesn't, you don't call it out and put it in the front. But for those that are like, oh, I get that. Oh, I see that. I see what you did.
Right.
It's subtle, right?
Yeah.
Like adult jokes in a Shrek movie.
That's right. That's perfect. I thought the utility of his costume was pretty dope. What do you think of his costume?
I liked it.
Me too.
Like, I think we were talking about like afterwards, like the pouch that he had on his thigh, right? I was like, the whole movie, the aesthetic was utility.
Yes, it was.
Right? Like clearly it's body armored up because there's a couple times he takes like, double shotgun blast, like fully automatic, like takes it. But there's also like a functionality. Oh, the squirrel suit moment. Oh my God, it worked.
Yes.
I had a little bit of heads up. I think before I saw it, there was some like little bit of squirrel suit, and I'm like, because there's something in the trailer where he like zooms past a building.
Yes, I remember.
So it's like
that.
I kind of knew something was coming.
Okay.
So when he got up there and then like zip, 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 and like the cape basically pulls in, and he's I was like, dope. Yeah. And okay, so it was fucking cool when he did that, jumped off the building, zooming down the street. He's like, all right, he's aiming for the top of the bus.
Yeah.
And he's coming in, and there's a little like parachute to slow him down. Yeah. And the parachute catches on the edge of the bridge that he's passing under to land on the bus, and he hits the bottom side of the bridge, bounces off the bus, bounces off a car, bounces down. It's just
walk it off.
Oh,
that's.
I mean, it's one of those things. You're like, you're fucking dead.
Right.
You're dead. That's what it should be. But it's
3
like
times.
I get it. Batman's
right. Walking off. You're Batman.
Supposed to be tougher. But he didn't just like bounce up. He was just like you could feel him you're like, oh.
Yeah, he's trying to walk it off.
He's not strolling down that alleyway. He's like,
Right.
Like honestly, there should have been a later shot where like, they had a couple shots where, he had his shirt off and stuff because like he's pushing a table and you see all the scars. It should have been just like bruise all along his back.
Right.
That would have been funny. But it was nice because like with the fight scenes, he's not perfect. He's not Magic Batman. Like he's doing amazing stuff, but he's taking those hits. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
He's making mistakes. Okay. So with all the Riddler's puzzles, which again, looking forward to the detective version of Batman. It's going to notice things. It's going to put things together. I was like, I think I've talked my idea of like the way the DCU should have been done. Mm-hmm. You do Batman as the great detective putting together a whole bunch of other stuff. So Riddler makes sense. But he's still got stuff wrong. The whole La Rata, right? That whole thing, right? With Alfred's iffy Spanish translation, which he calls out as iffy Spanish translation.
Yeah.
and they're interrogating Penguin and like, who's the rat, da-da-da, because they think it's the Penguin. It's
Right.
like, you fucking idiots with your shitty Spanish. Like, you don't know for the rat, it's El Rata. Like,
Right.
you got it wrong. Like,
Yeah,
it's
you
not
think
gendered that way. And
right?
he's
You
like,
gotta think y'all detectives, and I knew
right?
that.
And then it's so
It's funny.
brilliant because he's like, it's supposed to be in Spanish, you are the rat.
Mhm.
You are the rata la da da da.
Mhm.
So you are L. And it's like, oh God. I was like, okay, that's slick.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
slick.
Yeah.
I think it was even Gordon, like, at one point we're like, this guy think he's a fucking comedian with his puns. I was
Right.
like, yes,
he
the
does.
Riddler would be.
Yes. And it's so cool because the thing about it is sometimes the hardest trick for a thinker is something so simplistic because you would just always overthink it. And so it was kind of cool that he was playing with them in that way. And the fact that how they was kind of, working it out together, like they just kind of, I don't know, sometimes when they do this kind of thing in movies, they just kind of drop you off. And it's just like, ain't no way you'd be able to keep up with this at all. You would just have to see the ending and they'll be like, you see, we showed you that. No, you didn't. We had no idea. There was never no breadcrumbs. We could never have any possible chance of figuring it out ourselves. You had to give us the answer.
That is the struggle with sort of mystery writing, right? Is, are you going to actually leave out breadcrumbs? Like little red herrings, but actual, like, I put out everything on the page or on the screen that you actually, sort of needed to get to the conclusion. Theoretically, there's a version of those sort of mystery stories where literally everything is there. If you're really, really sharp and you maybe make just one jump in logic or something, you can put it together.
Right.
But they brought you along the thought process.
Yes, they did.
It's so easy to just have a Sherlock that just sits there in his head and just goes, oh, it's this because blah, 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 as opposed to Sherlock having to go and look things up, to read the paper, to find out this, to go to that, da, da, da. And what they did, and I think it worked really well, because between Alfred and Detective Gordon is he had his Watson.
Yes.
Right? Because you need, like on detective shows, you need two detectives as partners so that they can talk to each other, so the audience can hear what they're thinking out loud.
Dialogue,
right? Mm-hmm. But the fact that also Alfred was actively helping, like he, with the first puzzle, it was the next morning, and he's basically doing the crosswords with a murderer's puzzle, right? And they kind of like, he's figured out all this. And then it's like, all right, we got to dial it back. Like, all right, what if we just, take these out, take your guesses out. What if it's just the things that he gave us?
That was just the
not
key.
all this like speculation, guesswork, which is what you do when you're trying to figure out a cipher.
Right, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah.
Because I haven't done a lot of puzzles before. But it was just like, no, you remove everything and it's only the things that specifically decode, and there's the word drive. In the shape of the word drive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought they did a great job, like bringing the audience along with the detective, and not just the puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
There's great visual communication of what's going on. So in the first murder with the mayor, right, he's got the carpet tucker, right? The tug, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from the camera, like he knocks him down and he's sort of hitting him off camera, and then the camera cuts to across the room at a low angle, and you see the murder weapon tumble right up to the camera, right? Which is, again, the director making a very clear choice of, here is the murder weapon. Mm-hmm. And Riddler comes up, walks over and picks it up, leaving just the blood in the shape of the edge of the murder weapon. And that is a callback later when Batman is at the murder scene looking around, and his eye is brought over too, and you just see his feet in the exact same camera placement walk up, and then we get a cut of his eyes and he's looking at it. And then of course the crime scene camera woman comes over and like click, right? We get to see him. The eye work in this movie is on point, right? If you want a TV show, like nowadays we have TVs that you can get so much closer, right, with the close-ups, but cinema in particular is you want to see the actors, the characters' eyes.
Right.
That's where they're going to communicate. On stage, it needs to be their voice and their body. But on camera, you can just get right up close into their eyes. Robert Pattinson fucking nailed his eye work in this movie.
Yeah, and I think he was leaning in on that, which is a good thing because he wasn't doing a lot of talking either. This Batman did not talk a lot at all.
No, it worked.
Yeah, it did. But he's not a talky Batman at all. Question.
But we can see what he's thinking.
Yes.
You can see what he's thinking because you can see where he's looking, right?
Yeah.
The whole scene where they're at the funeral for the mayor, right? He has the interaction with Falcone on the way in. But he's looking for Riddler. That's explicitly why he's there as Bruce Wayne.
Right.
He's looking. And so when the car eventually drives through and crashes in, Bruce, of course, because he's also Batman, doesn't cringe and hide. Right. He looks up at the balcony and he sees the silhouetted, the one person who hasn't run away.
Right.
And it's I think it's before the car drives through. It's when the commotion is starting, the car is about to come through, and it's only and then the car comes through. Yeah. And when he looks back up, he's gone, and the crowd comes back in. It's like you can see his thought process of what he's looking for. So
because he was checking people on the way in, because he had checked out this guy that was kind of staring at him, which came up later on. That same guy, I think that was the same guy that came up later on.
I think so, yeah.
But I thought it was kind of interesting how he was just aware of everything and how he used Bruce Wayne as a character to get into places. Not for his livelihood, but to use him as a prop to get into places.
Right.
His celebrity to get in.
I loved they did this not only with his I am vengeance in the beginning and the sort of the refutation at the end. You get to see the first time he goes into Penguin's Club as Batman, right? He goes in, punches and beats his way into that club.
First he's like, do you know who I am, to get to that door? Because remember, that door thing comes up 3 times.
Yeah.
Getting into the club. So the first time.
And it's when he comes back in as Bruce Wayne.
Right. So the Batman one, it's the fight. He had to fight to get in. You know who I am? Yeah, we know who you are. It's a fight to get to that door. The second time is Bruce Wayne, and what? You know who I am?
Right.
They're like, come on in.
Of course, Mr. Wayne.
The third time, he did a Batman sneaked in. So I liked how they redid that scene 3 times and got in 3 different ways. One,
he was polite.
Batman.
He was polite the first time, and then punched his way in, and then was just polite and got invited in, and then he snuck his way in. Right. It's amazing that the callbacks within the movie, right? That they made those work so fucking well.
They did those so well that even when they brought up something and started something, even though we may not have got a return on them yet, you know they really mean something. It puts more weight. It puts more weight on them because of that. So if you know somebody who moves like that, nothing's on accident. So
when he first broke into the club, right, punching his way through all these bouncers and stuff.
Yes.
And then what we find out later is the cop shows up. Because the way he interacted wasn't just to run up and he had a gun. Everything in my head, I was like, off-duty cop? Because of the way he told him to halt, right?
Yeah.
The whole way he handled himself just said off-duty cop in the back of my head. And it was only later, it was like, oh, he is an off-duty cop. I was totally right. Because that is a legit thing that off-duty cops do a lot. They work as bouncers for clubs.
Right.
Probably not, working for fucking kingpins and stuff.
Right.
But that is something that happens.
Yeah. So speaking of callbacks, and like I said, that didn't happen yet, but I think it's going to happen. What'd you think in the beginning when you saw the Joker crew? That's what we'll call them for now, since they're not labeled as that, but the Joker crew that we had a new guy that was getting initiated into the group, and he has half a face painted. So I guess that's saying that he's half in, half out. And after he did this one thing, because they had the newsreel of the Joker gang going around just knocking people out, kind of like in real life where we had these kids that would go around punching and knocking people out.
Knockout challenges.
Right. So they're kind of doing the same thing with the Jokers. Everybody painted up except for one kid, half a face, setting him up in a situation. You could tell he doesn't want to do it. He get pressure to do it, man. Do it. And then, before he could really even get into it, the Batman comes out. And then one of those Joker dudes wanted to test the Batman, thinking he ain't no big deal. Not a
smart move.
So he steps to Batman. Batman steps to him. It's going to be a one-on-one thing. Bad choice for the bad guy. Batman beats him to a puddle, to the point where people either running or getting the nearest hammer or anything they could do to try to stop him, which is foolish. Some tried. They failed. But it was just one of those kind of situations. But that guy, that kid that had half the face painted, when I saw that, I was thinking like, yeah, he's going to be a Robin or something. Something going to be going on with this kid?
Scared him straight.
He was the last one left too. And he's just kind of looking at Batman. He knew better than to try to fight him, but he just kind of looked at him. Batman kind of looked at him and kind of let him go unscathed.
Right.
The rest of them didn't get it because he tore that first guy up, broke him all kind of sideways. Yeah.
And I think that's where he utters the "I am vengeance" line.
Yes.
Where he's like, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" And then he boom, 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 beats him down like, "I am vengeance."
Right.
Like, okay.
Right. And it's funny that that kid that had the half the face painted, he's in the show Titans, and he's the new Robin.
No way. Is it the same actor?
Same actor.
No.
So he better quit.
Brilliant.
So he better quit that crap show Titans so he can do this movie. This dude, quit Titans and lean into this one. But I thought it was just funny because I thought he could be a potential Robin. And I looked at him like, that's the dude that's already he's supposed to be Robin in the new Titans film.
Did they inception you, Jay? Is that why you're like, he could be a Robin? Wait a minute, he is a Robin.
It's quite possible, but it's just so funny because DC is so, and Warner Bros is so crazy and messy like that.
Oh, I know.
They pull it from the same pool. They're not even supposed to even do that. It shouldn't be walking across the same people that's in other stuff that you're doing that's still in that world in a way. Even though I know it's like different. You know what I mean? It's like it's
it doesn't make any sense.
It's just kind of crazy, but it's just very interesting. And I guess Marvel's guilty for the same thing because you have the Human Torch who became Captain America and all that kind of stuff, and Human Torch became the bad guy in Black Panther. So I know they kind of, but when I see that happening, it's just kind of like you put stuff in a sticky spot. And I would hate for him if he was supposed to be doing something else with this movie. I hope that him being on the show doesn't mess with this, because I think this would be a better deal for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I would be, as I was telling my buddy Matty, I'd be very happy if with the Flash movie, which is going to be Flashpoint, which is their version of the multiverse, switching up the timelines, if this just becomes the new Batman in the DCU going forward, right? Whatever version of the Justice League we're gonna have, because I don't think they're gonna switch out Jason Momoa.
Right. That's the bill. Who gonna get rid of $1 billion?
Right. I don't think they're gonna get rid of Gal Gadot. Right. Hopefully they hold on to I'm gonna get his name right.
Henry Cavill.
Okay.
You got it.
But yeah, the rest of the team, even Flash, I think works.
Do you think they'll work with this Batman though? I don't think this Batman. I think it's a whole different world. I don't think the world matches up. To be honest, to me,
the world doesn't match up. No,
that's not their Batman.
That's the thing. I appreciate the fact that it's a standalone Batman in this story, right? There's no allusions to any other superheroes or anything else.
Right.
Whether or not they change that as part of Flashpoint, I don't know. That would be nice. That would be nice. If it doesn't happen, okay, whatever. Keep going with this one as a solo thing. I'll
take that.
I'll be fine.
I'll take that.
Yeah. DC hasn't managed to prove that they can bring multiple characters together.
Yeah,
so
and
just don't.
because they got too many different artists' interpretations. And then the sad part is sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. But then when you try to pull it together, then it's a hot mess. So it's just like, that's the thing. Some great things could come out of this, but also instead of kind of seeing what fans would want or finding somebody who really, like Zack Snyder, he does a pretty film, right? But his taste is not the average comic book people who love this stuff taste. He has a whole other kind of thing. He likes the idea of it, but don't want the soul of it.
Right.
And so he gives you something that looks pretty, but does not feel recognizable. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so if they're looking for somebody to oversee all that, then have somebody like Matt Reeves that could do something. You could tell he loves it. You could tell he's picking and pulling from all this different stuff and he gelled it together. Not doing like Batman v Superman and taking something that's from a totally different world in the future with a history, making them fight.
I know it's so, that
so he's
fight is...
so he's just pulling stuff, just hodgepodging of stuff and not understanding or taking the time to making it fit.
Yeah,
he just wanted it there.
Snyder does moments.
Right.
Moments don't always go together,
especially when they're in different worlds, especially when they're in books and stuff that wasn't even, really considered in the same world. It's like it got so popular that they did that, but when it was made, it wasn't supposed to be like that. It was an Elseworld situation that got popular, like the Killing Joke. That wasn't part of the whole thing at first. But everybody loved it so much, they were like, well, it worked and the people love it. Let's fold it in.
Right.
So stuff like that happens. But like I said, this right here, this is the first time in a long time I saw stuff pulled from different stuff and put together in a narrative that fit. It wasn't nothing that you kind of hit across that just hiccup real hard and be like, wait a minute.
There was no fat. There's no fat whatsoever. Everything that movie was worked tight together to build on what came before and add to the narrative tension. Like the whole thing. It
was tight. I loved how they did. Like I said, I love the Batsuit. I like how they did Batman. What did you think of the tech, man? Because that tech almost threw me off, especially with the stuff with the contacts.
The contacts oddly worked for me.
That was crazy. I loved it.
Like that. And the thing
I didn't understand what was happening at first either. I'm like, what? I didn't get really what was going on with it. Because at first I thought, okay, I see what this is. Use it for a recording device. And at first I almost thought that's almost sci-fi. She's almost too ahead, right? But the way they kind of showed you how it worked and how it went, and then his situation, it's like, okay, it's not too far. It's not. It's ahead. It should be. Right? It should be. He's money, resources, and stuff like that. So he should be.
And in a way, to how they showed Batman not being perfect, like they still showed that it's a piece of tech that has limitations. Like they were getting interference. Like he had to dial in to edit out the static and the noise. Right. So it's selling you on the believability, the imperfection of this tech, as amazing as it is.
Right.
And then once it was done, it just worked. Right. There wasn't any issue later until she took it out.
Right.
And the fact that Selena, which they did a fucking amazing job with.
Yes, they did.
The fact that she basically left a call for him because she put her contacts down on a table or something, and she put a little note facing it. Like I don't know if it said "call me" or something, but she had the earpiece in.
Right.
So when he finally started talking, she was like, "Oh, can you hear me?"
Yeah.
And then they talked.
It was cool.
The fact that they had the Penguin.
Yes.
They had Catwoman, and they had Riddler, and Riddler is the primary villain. Penguin's an antagonist. Catwoman's a femme fatale, right? Because clearly they're playing also on noir detective tropes because we have the voiceovers from Batman, right? That is classic noir. When his voiceover started in the beginning, I was like, cool.
Yes.
They're leaning into the noir detective. I'm here for it, right?
Yeah.
It didn't happen very often.
Nope.
I think it was only like at the beginning and only at the end. I think we got the voiceover.
Yeah, I think it was like two or three times.
There might have been some journaling, I think, in the middle where we got some of his journaling, right? I have to
but it wasn't all the time, like you say. It wasn't like all the time. It wasn't like every 5 minutes. Like here we go.
They didn't lean on it like a crutch.
Yes.
Right. They used it really when they needed to, but they managed with those three characters and Batman to fill and flesh them out, like make them work, make them three-dimensional. Like it didn't feel crowded. It is a 3-hour long movie.
Right.
Like I think I saw some random comment online where like they liked the movie, but it dragged it a little bit. I'm like,
Where,
motherfucker?
where? I had to go to the bathroom. I can tell when to go. There was no time for me to go.
There's no fat in it. Like everything mattered.
Yeah.
Like they're not ratcheting the tension all the time, but there's always something vital to a character going on. There's always some little bit of conflict within the scene. There's different tones. Right? When Bruce has found out all this stuff about his dad working with Falcone to cover up like family secrets, like his mom had mental issues, he's like, oh, my dad, he was a fucking bad guy, he did all this thing, worked with Falcone, and he's having the scene in the hospital with Alfred, and Alfred's like, look, your dad was a good guy who made a mistake. Like the tone of that scene, there's still conflict there, but the tone is different. It's not just action, danger, right? It is this conflict between a damaged young man and his surrogate father, right? Arguing about his actual father.
Right.
And I appreciate Alfred's take on your dad was still a good man who made a mistake. And the thing that Falcone's not telling you, because Falcone fucking lies, is that what got him killed was that he told Falcone that he was going to fix the mistake. Falcone killed that reporter, which was a step too far. And he was going to report it. He was going to go to the cops, and that's what got Thomas Wayne and his wife killed.
I thought that was very interesting, one, that he would even tell Falcone that he was going to tell. I thought that was interesting. And I thought that was interesting too, that it's kind of like, what do you expect from a hammer? You know what I mean?
Valid. That is valid.
So it's kind of like the way they did it is to kind of give Thomas an out in a way, or not totally meant to do it kind of stuff. But,
he made a mistake. He fucking made a mistake.
Yeah, because he probably felt desperate to the situation and stuff like that. And
he wanted the problem to go away, and he went to a fixer, and the fixer fixed it, but in a way that he should have known better.
Now, I wish they would have
absolutely should have known better.
Yeah, and I wish they would have shown some of that, like their encounter, like him on the table and stuff, and trying to patch him up. Because it was kind of neat how that was. Because I was thinking in my head, that'd be interesting. What really kind of happened versus what he's saying, because
Falcone lies,
and then Thomas Wayne is not alive to say his part in it, because it's like, really, to Bruce, it was just kind of a situation where his dad got put in a situation, and obviously it was more of a relationship than we thought, more than Bruce thought too. So I was just kind of curious, like, I wonder how deep
where he
could
first
that go?
Talks to Falcone.
Yes,
because he's not planning to, but he thinks, oh shit, Selena's with him.
Yeah,
I'm being played. This girl that I kind of like.
Yeah.
Oh, she's working for Falcone, and it's not. It's Falcone's other squeeze.
Yeah.
But that scene comes up because Falcone wants to be like, oh, you, like your dad did me a solid. Me and your dad were good buds. Like he saved my life. Like it proves we were good friends. And he's just like, no, it proves he took the Hippocratic Oath. Like that was perfect.
Yes.
Because it's like, no, asshole. Like he's a doctor. Like you might be scum, which I'm not gonna say, but like he still has to help you.
Yeah.
But it's Falcone trying to be like, no, we're good. Please come in. Let me take you under my wing. Let me lie to you so I can manipulate you and get leverage on you, just like I did your dad.
Oh, yeah, it could be that. But like I said, I was also wondering, did they really have something else kind of going on? And he was kind of laughing because, like, you so naive. Like, you think your dad was this person, but I really knew who he was. And so I couldn't. But you know what? That's beautiful, the fact that we don't know for sure anyway. You know,
Right?
it's one of those kind of things where both could be true, or whatever. That's why I said they touched on
They
so much
managed to
stuff.
convey so many things from the past, all this
Yeah,
history, without doing any flashbacks,
yeah, they did.
right?
They
Which
did.
is so difficult,
It
right?
is. It is. It is. Yeah. But
The
like I
whole
said,
history of renewal,
yeah,
like that whole thing, like, and they made it so clear how Riddler figured it out, because
accountant.
he's an accountant, forensic accountant.
Yeah, yeah,
His whole job is to look through cooked books and figure
yeah.
out, oh, they've been just using it as a slush fund. This whole thing is
Right,
bullshit. Let me dig
right.
more. Let me dig more. I'm gonna blow it out and reveal everything.
About
Unmask Gotham.
about something that was supposed to save his life, or make his life better. You
And
know
the
what I mean?
second the Waynes were
So
dead,
this
he
is
just
why I am in this situation, because of this situation,
right.
and I
The
know who
orphans
did
got
it.
flushed. Yeah.
Right. So I thought that was very interesting. What did you think of? Well, I thought it was interesting the way Bruce Wayne was handled. In most movies, Bruce Wayne heavy, a little bit on the Batman part. This one, it was the other way around. It was a lot of Batman and a little bit of Bruce Wayne, which I didn't mind. I thought it was different, but I kind of didn't mind, because they, even when they were supposed to have meetings and stuff, where it got to the point where they would have meetings at the house because he wouldn't leave the house to go to the meetings, and even that kind of stuff was just like a point where it's about him and Alfred talking. Alfred's working on a puzzle, and then just kind of cuts to something else afterwards. Like, you just get Bruce when you have to have him, otherwise they're on that Batman quick.
Yes.
How did you feel about that?
I think it worked because, like, again, this is supposed to be like 2 years into his career as Batman. He is still super obsessed. And it's clear through his conversation with Alfred, he's just letting everything else fall apart. Like, he doesn't care about Wayne Corp. He doesn't care about his parents' legacy. Like, what he's doing is his parents' legacy, right? He doesn't care about Bruce Wayne, right? Keeping up appearances.
Right, which I thought was cool.
And the funny thing is, like, there's the whole debate of, like, is Bruce Wayne the real persona, or is Batman the real persona?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, depending on the interpretation, it's very much like Batman's the real persona and Bruce Wayne is affectation, right? The animated series is 100% that. Like, I think the Christopher Nolan one is Batman's the real persona. I felt like this one skewed more towards Bruce is still the core personality.
Oh, okay.
It's Batman's a mask, right? Batman, like, even the okay, so Riddler's been caught. He's in Arkham, and Riddler's talking about how the mask freed him, right, to be his true self. But I think, like, Batman is a means to an end for Bruce. Like, we think that as much as he lives and breathes in being Batman and cleaning the streets, the core of that is still a wounded Bruce Wayne. And he doesn't have the affectation Bruce Wayne that he puts out in public, right? He's very just very emo. I think we agree on out in public, right? Very dour. But that's him. Like, he doesn't have a mask on out in public. He's just emo, not happy Bruce Wayne. And I think the Batman mask lets him get his vengeance out, right? Get his rage out. But he's still Bruce Wayne. Like, there's not... So getting to his whole fear of Riddler unmasking him, it's an interesting question of, is he afraid because then he won't be able to be Batman anymore? Or is he afraid because people will know that it's Bruce? Right? I don't know. I think with this whole which persona is it is kind of a false dichotomy anyway, because he's both.
Yeah, he's both.
Like the truth is he's really both.
Okay, when they say that, I take it more of it like, what skin do you feel more comfortable in? I think there's always a true self, and I think there's always a self we got to put on for show. And I think he's comfortable because really, say Bruce Wayne is the way he is, like you say, then, you know, he could still be Bruce Wayne with the moniker of Batman, but his persona as a playboy, you know, buying up hotels and with all the ladies and stuff like that, to me, that would be a mask as well, even though the mask happens to be, you know, carries the name that was given to him.
Right.
So I just think he, like you said, he haven't got to that point of knowing the importance of it. Mm-hmm. You know, and who knows? Because this Batman, they may not need to do it like that. I don't know. He might just be the recluse. Who knows? I don't know. And I kind of like the fact that I don't know. Yeah, I like the fact that I don't even know. Yeah,
I think an interesting thing that they could play with. I don't want to see it as a theme of within the movie of like which is the real person.
Yeah,
or which is the facade that's
I think it was important for this just because that was the Riddler's issue. That's the issue he had, so he's putting it on him.
I could put more the mask on and I could do all this stuff,
right? So he's putting it on Bruce more so than I think that's an issue, because the truth is I don't want this Batman molded, or we're gonna get to the Batman that we've seen before. Just keep leaning into where you're leaning in. I'm not trying to get to Christian Bale's Batman. I'm not trying to get into Ben Affleck's Batman. I want wherever this Batman is gonna be to be, because I like where you're going with it. I like the, you know, the ingredients in this soup. Don't switch it up at the end and make it the thing that
we've already had 1,000 times.
Exactly.
I think an interesting thing that they could play around with in, oh God, they have to do another movie after this, is you can have a Bruce Wayne affectation that he starts to play up, because I think what we are going to see out of this, because he rejects the I am vengeance, because it comes out of Riddler and Riddler's follower. It literally comes out of their mouth of, this is my vengeance, I am vengeance. And it's like, oh, that's my line.
Right.
Oh,
and you're both right.
Wait, I just can't take out my grievance on the world,
right?
Because I'm just repeating a cycle of violence.
Right.
Oh, okay. I have to be something else, which we'll get to in a second. But he can have that new affectation of Bruce Wayne trying to positively affect Gotham, right? While he has the Batman affectation, the facade, to do the dirty work.
Right.
But then he can have, and this is from the comics, he can have Matches Malone, right? Which used to be this underworld guy who eventually got killed off, and occasionally Bruce would assume his identity.
Right, to get information.
Put on the mustache, the glasses, he'd have the matches, right? Lighten him with his thumb, blah, blah, blah. So he could infiltrate the underworld, right?
Right.
Maintain a presence in Falcone's organization so he could get information, and eventually Dick Grayson would take on Matches Malone as he got older, right? So it's like you can play around with, there's the core, in the end, Bruce Wayne, that can put out these false affectations as means to an end, right? And then there's the genuine question of, aside from Alfred, who gets to meet that Bruce? Like Selina, I feel like got close, right? She's still seen him through, obviously, Batman,
right?
But there was some connection there.
I thought it was interesting when she was like, when he was talking, and she was like, I don't know who you are, but I bet you're a rich kid.
Oh, okay. The shots fired at the 1% in this movie were choice. What was it? Old rich white dudes. Like Selena Kyle called it out. Like one of the Riddler's guys that was in the memorial, right? Like, it's like, fucking rich dudes that got it done. And he's like, he's talking to fucking Bruce Wayne. He doesn't realize it. Right. There's a lot of like, check your fucking privilege, Bruce. Like, that's why in the scene at the end where he's in Arkham with Riddler, and Riddler's like has done the whole like, we're on the same team, right? We put on the mask, we were working together. I was the brains, you were the brawn. I gave you the instructions, like go and do this. And he's like, no, we are not on the same team. Like you're a nutcase. And then Riddler kind of loses his shit.
Yeah.
He hasn't stepped out of the shadows yet. He's in the interrogation room with the window between them, but he's still in the shadows. So Riddler can't read his eyes. Yeah. But everything Riddler's saying is like, I'm going to unmask this whole thing, right? And he's been talking about Bruce Wayne, and he goes off on this rant of motherfucking Bruce Wayne, right? And he never phrases it in a way until like midway through where it's not clear whether or not he knows Batman is Bruce Wayne. He's ranting about this fucking rich kid who, he's an orphan too, just like me, but he's a fucking billionaire. Boo fucking who. Like when his parents died, me and the rest of the 30 orphans that were in a room just got chucked to the gutter. I'm ad-libbing here, but it was like, fuck him.
One would die every winter. He's in his tower. He's rich. And how he's not the orphan. We were the orphans.
Right.
It was crazy.
It's this very understandable grievance that he has. But for Bruce, we can see his eyes in the shadow, and it's very much like, oh fuck, 'cause he's looking at the camera and he's like, this is being recorded. Like this is the end. Like, I'm fucked.
Because he's like, Bruce,
and he's like, are you calling to me? And it's the one time where his body language is a little collapsed, a little. He's like, ah, shit, here it comes, and then he's like, I fucking hate that guy, and he's like, that guy.
But
not me, that guy. And then he's like, all right, I'll step up into the light.
All right, no, okay, let's talk about this now. He already felt a little bit of ways because right before that's when he was in the Riddler spot, and he thought he was found out, and that's why he got out of there and told Gordon he was a good guy.
He told him he was a good cop. He's a good cop because the whole way through he never thinks I totally trust you, Gordon. He never says that. Because he's like, I'm suspicious of all these fucking cops. And then Gordon's like, dude, I'm right here.
But he thinks Batman is over, so he's just kind of letting him know, I'm telling you now. And so
it's like, you're an actual good cop. I think you're solid. I mean, that is like the I'm going to die. It's been nice knowing you, and you're like, whoa. Was that like a goodbye? I'll see you tomorrow, or goodbye?
Right. So he hauled his butt off to go see the Riddler, and so I thought it was interesting. Okay, so with you saying that, and I thought it was interesting too because he flipped when he realized that they was not on the same, that the Riddler and Batman was on the same page. And I can understand how he could feel that way because they both was cleaning up Gotham, but with different tools. Right. So I thought it was very poetic. And the fact that he really honestly thought they were working together, and Batman's like, man, quit talking reckless, man. We're being recorded. And he's just like, and then we did this. Oh, no, we didn't. And then did this. No, I didn't. And then you did this. Remember this? Oh, no, I didn't.
But I gave you the instructions. I gave you the puzzles and everything. You did what you brought him into the light, just like I said. It was
he's like, no, not.
No. He realized it too late. It was a summons to bring him out into the light.
Yeah, but it was just kind of like, because almost kind of joking before when we were talking about how, almost like I'm giving you too much credit for being smart because it was some other puzzle they were working out
over the computer.
Yes, but okay. So with that being said, when he was saying Bruce Wayne, you think the Riddler don't know that Batman was Bruce Wayne?
No.
Okay. I think
he would have totally unmasked him.
I think he did. I think he did. Because matter of fact, the reason why Batman got nervous in the first place, because he saw even on his wall
in the apartment
where had the news
I know
thing,
who you are.
Yeah, I know who you are, and had a picture of Bruce Wayne there. I think he knew who he was. I think he was screwing with him, and that's why he was saying the name so elongated, because he was just waiting to see if he was going to say anything. Because really, that wouldn't do anything for him. It wouldn't do anything, I don't think.
I think he genuinely fucking hates Bruce Wayne.
As smart as he is, and all the stuff he's doing, you think that he wouldn't figure? Okay, he already had evidence. He was poking around. Put it like this: who's Batman and a picture of Bruce Wayne there. So you just think that was just a guess that he was making?
No, I don't even think it's a guess. I think it's a red herring for us and for Bruce. It's meant, that's his wall of like all the people involved in the conspiracy.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, yes, we and Bruce make the connection of like, well, those two things are next to each other. You've got the I know who you are and then a picture of Bruce. But we are assuming, just like Bruce did, there is a connection there that Riddler has made. Instead of it's just his board of the whole conspiracy, those two things just happen to be next to each other. Because if you look at that scene, he fucking hates Bruce Wayne. That whole rant that he does, and he never, and again, his own phrasing is, I fucking hate that guy, not you. And even if he's trying to, for some weird reason, like, which doesn't make any sense, not in his weird ranting phrasing, out him, again, he fucking hates Bruce Wayne. He wouldn't work with Bruce Wayne if he knew Batman was Bruce Wayne, and he clearly was working with Batman.
The fact that he even said anything about that mask being actually him, I think he would even deal with him as if there was two different people. I don't know.
Because clearly he's like, I am working with Batman, and he hates Bruce Wayne. So unless he's doing some unexplored, like, I'm just going to keep these two separate thoughts in my head at the same time. No, I know that they're the same person. I think that scene would have gone differently if he knew.
It could have been a coincidence, but I think that's very interesting that he wouldn't have tried to figure out who Batman was, especially since he
tried to kill Bruce. The bomb he sent to Bruce Wayne is meant to kill Bruce. And if he knows that Bruce is Batman, that would have killed Batman, his collaborator in this whole endeavor. He didn't know. It was a very nice red herring that not only worked on us, it worked on Bruce.
See,
so I want to get to the other thing that I remember you talked about when we were outside the movie theater, is at the end there's the whole flooding of the city. They're in the big amphitheater. He fights off a whole bunch of Riddler goons, and the last thing that happens is the scaffolding starts to collapse and the big electrical box is going to electrify everyone in the water. And so he jumps out and takes off half of his logo and cuts it and falls into the water. And then when he comes up,
that's the top half though, not the bottom half. He cuts the top half that he's connected to. Okay,
I got more on that in a second. I think there's some stuff there. But he falls down and comes up out of the water, and then all the lights are out because that killed the power in the building.
Yes.
Right. And so he reaches into his kit and he pulls out a flare. Right, lights the flare, and then goes in and like finds a couple people on the wreckage and starts to lead them out. And you put some stink on that. You didn't like that. I want you to re-articulate that, because I think it's valid, because I think you said it was just too on the nose, especially with the sort of speech that starts to come up out of that.
Right.
This is the last voiceover from Bruce, where he rejects I am vengeance and tries to build something towards hope instead for his legacy.
I thought it was on the nose, and I thought it was just very cheesy of, follow him into the light and all this kind of stuff. But it wasn't just that part, but it was just how everything was just happening. Like, people are drowning and stuck, and he's trying to help people, and nobody won't take his hand, but a child will take his hand. And once the child takes his hand, all the adults trust him, even with him carrying a woman and all that kind of stuff. But I know that a lot of that was probably happening because he was understanding how his persona was almost too much.
Yeah.
especially when the quote unquote bad guys was using the same kind of shtick in a way.
Right.
With the fear. So what I think reason why it went the way it did is because it's getting towards the end of the movie. It's running out of time, and they have to put all this stuff to get Batman from this scary guy to on the side of the people, and only the bad guy should fear him. So I think it's just the timing of it and how just back to back to back. You went to this guy who was just beating up crowds of people, crowds of thugs, crowds of cops. He wakes up in the middle of a room full of cops. He's trying to take out all the cops. So he's always just fighting and taking out stuff the whole time, right? And then now all of a sudden he's like, and this is why we love Batman, you know, because even when people have like fan art of Batman, he's always saving a child or he's at a grave site. He's always a sensitive
that's
person.
What we most easily associate with
right
heroics, which is
right
saving people, not necessarily punching people out.
Right. So it's almost like we got the slow burn and the gradual increase and a lot of that Batman doing his thing, taking care of business, which we like to see as well. But there is also the other side of Batman that we like as well too. But like I said, it wasn't as nuanced, and I think that they were just doing a lot of broad strokes to get it done because of time restraints.
It's a heavy lift.
But when it happened, I understood why they did it, but I just thought that it was heavy that they did it and how quickly they did it too. It's kind of like, I'm seeing how the magic is happening. I'm seeing behind the scenes a little bit.
I would love if part of the next movie was directly Batman trying to find out how he can have his cake and eat it too, where he can be Gotham's knight, its protector. And I think, I was thinking of this the other day, he's not going to be their Dark Knight, right? Like the Christopher Nolan, he will be our Dark Knight. He's the hero we deserve instead of the one we need, blah, blah, blah. He is going to try and explicitly set a different tone where he is Gotham's knight without being vengeance, without finding a different path. Still is protecting and saving people, right? We kind of get to see what I think of as the 80s Batman, which I read a lot of, where if he was chasing a bad guy and the bad guy, as he's running across, like shoves someone off a building, Batman just jumps off the building to go save the person, right? Heroics. But it does need more breathing room. I agree. It's like the first step in a broad stroke. That scene, starting with the room gets flooded, the electrical thing. These are all, of course, choices that the writer and the director are making, right? That it's not just like, well, he has to do the thing. It's like, no, we wrote the situation, so he responds to it. So when he comes up out of the water and he lights the torch and goes over to wherever everyone's, trapped under the scaffolding. I said earlier when we were talking the other day that, it's no mistake that the kid did it, right? Because the kid knows him, like from when his parents got murdered, right? They had that connection. So I was like, okay, it makes sense that it's the kid. But with your whole thing of like him leading them out, the light in the darkness, going back to my earlier comment of like, that kid is the Bruce Wayne analog, right? He starts by having to lead himself out of darkness, right? He's taking the kid out first. And yeah, it's the kid that goes with him first because everyone's afraid. But there is that extra layer of, it's not just I'm taking people out. I'm taking my injured self out into the light in a new direction. So there's that. And I think a subtle thing, and this is, I freely admit I might be reading way too much into this. They have the whole, there's the water, there's the electrical cables dangling down, and he has to go and cut it to save everyone, blah, blah, blah. And he falls into the water. But when he cuts it, like you see it, he gets shocked. And you're like, oh, is that too much shock? And if we go back to Joseph Campbell, which George Lucas loves, and there's the hero's journey, part of that journey is you have to die, you have to go to the underworld so you can be reborn, right? And we see this in so many freaking movies where you essentially have to go to the dark place. Your ego has to die in some way. You have to go through that change.
You're getting baptized
and become something new. And that is his baptism. Right? It's literally right after he's confronted by the Riddler goon being, I am vengeance. I am throwing your ideology back at you, and you see how flawed it is. And then the electrical box happens. And then he drops down into the water, a classic allusion to the underworld. And there's a half-second pause of like, oh shit, is he dead? And of course he's not fucking dead. And he comes up. And then he lights the flare. And now he's going to be the light in the dark. right? Not
Yeah.
the Dark Knight,
Right.
but Gotham's Knight. So I was maybe reading way too much in that last day or so, but I was like, yeah, I like that. I was thrilled enough that it was a rejection of I Am Vengeance and sort of the Dark Knight Frank Miller version, and he's going to be something more towards hope, which people are classically like, well, that's fucking Superman. I'm like, dude, Batman's not that much of an asshole.
Yeah,
like he's still a nice guy. He saves kids. He tells jokes. He makes fun of people. Like you read I'm not even talking like 60s goofball,
right?
Like Batman. I'm talking like the Great Detective run in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
He could have a sense of humor.
Right.
Like he was very serious in his work, but he wasn't like, oh, I'm just gonna go beat the shit out of a bunch of fucking people. There wasn't that bloodlust there. He wasn't. Right. He was, I'm trying to do good to prevent bad things from happening to other people.
Right.
But he wasn't like, and I'm gonna enjoy beating the shit out of a bunch of street kids. Like,
right. Yeah.
So seeing that direction, like fucking high five.
But like I said, most of this movie I didn't see coming, and it was just nuance. It's like, oh, here we go. Oh, okay. So when I saw that, like I said, it just laid out, and I was like, okay, they ran out of time, because you can't be that good with your gadgets and thinking 5 steps ahead, and you're cutting the wire that way where you fall in. Like I said, I understand, but it was just like there would have been other choices that could have been made too. That would have been like, I would have thought like, okay, that's how Batman would have did it too.
It's also the big heroic choice of, shit, I don't have handy options. I'm just gonna do the thing that'll probably get me killed to save a bunch of people.
I thought it was like kind of like out of the blue. Here's a wire that's putting people in danger, and like, oh, now he got to go jump. You didn't see that kind of thing happen through the whole movie, and that's why I was just like, not that he wouldn't have done it, but this never came up before.
Yeah,
in this way,
right? Because this is the one thing that isn't a callback, right? It's just he's doing the heroic thing. You see him do I would say the one heroic thing he did is when the car crashed through the memorial service, he grabbed the kid first and dived out of the way.
That's the only one he worried about.
Right? Because it's him.
Yeah.
It's him.
Exactly.
But it's not set up as a theme of Batman not doing those things.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right? Yeah. That's like,
because I think also that would have left a really bad taste in people's mouths. Yeah. If he started off where he did have that classic, there's a bad guy running away and the bad guy knocks someone off a bridge or a building, and he just focuses on the bad guy and lets the person fall.
Yeah. The only time we saw where he was just kind of like not tripping about the civilian, but wasn't really civilian, was Catwoman. When she was like, and you put me in danger by setting me up to go in here with these cameras and all this other kind of stuff. So either he could have just been hella confident in his technology, or he really was just kind of like, you're a tool too.
Right.
And so that's the only time we really kind of saw him dealing with somebody who could actually get hurt by dealing with him and how he would handle it. But he did show concern when she was like, I'm done with this. I'm taking this stuff out. And it was a fine line. You couldn't tell if he was concerned because he wasn't going to get no more recordings or whatever, or was he concerned about her livelihood just in case he needs to go in there and try to save her? You cannot tell.
I kind of read that as he was more concerned about not getting more intel.
Me too.
There's a legit side thing.
Yeah.
Where this is, I'm not going to do, there's a version of this, but they could have simply had a line of like, she just goes, what the fuck happens if this goes south? He's like, I've got 5 entry points on that building. I can be there in 30 seconds.
Right.
Boom, done. Where it's like, yes, I have considered your safety. It's a thing. Yeah. I will cover your ass. But I kind of like the fact that he was just fucking focused on his goal.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. Yeah, I'm not mad at it. Yeah.
Out of that tension, they build towards a relationship. Man. So the funny thing was with Catwoman, because in the trailer, I think they did an amazing job of not giving shit away.
Yeah, they did.
Like I saw someone kind of bitching at whoever did the marketing in one way, because like they felt like they didn't sell what this movie really was, what type of Batman movie. They just hit it in like explosions and stuff happening and blah blah blah, which I'm fine with. But one of the things from the trailer was she has that line of like, don't worry, I got 9 lives, right? Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
And it's when it's the scene where she wants to kill the cop, right?
Yeah.
And he's basically like, don't and it comes back later, I think, explicitly as a line of like, you know, Falcone hasn't suffered enough, and he's basically like, don't make yourself suffer, right? It's like, don't damage yourself. It wasn't don't be him, of don't drop down to his level. It was don't hurt yourself. You want to hurt him, but it's gonna hurt you, right? He's telling her that it's like, this is gonna take something away from you by doing this, right? You're gonna damage your soul, right? In larger terms, like, you kill him, that is gonna fuck you up for the rest of your life, right?
Assuming that she hasn't killed already.
He said it in so few words, right?
Yeah.
But back to the scene where she like wants to kill the cop, right? He's like, don't do this to yourself. He's building to that same argument, right? And she's just like, don't destroy your life. He's like, don't worry, I got 9 lives, and then kicks the cop off the side. Right. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't. The great thing was, even with the trailer, there was no bits where I was like, aside from the squirrel suit, where I was waiting for a thing. I was so in the movie, I wasn't even like, well, when's this supposed to happen? Da 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 da. Like,
yeah, same here.
I think maybe the car chase when he goes to the fire, because I knew that, because that's fucking iconic.
Yeah, but you couldn't really tell what stuff was going to happen, because even how they introduced the, they showed them working on it at first, which was kind of cool. But even the presentation of how Batmobile was first shown, it was almost kind of like Batman. It's just, you kind of hear it in the shadows. That thing started lighting up. It's so funny, because when I first saw like how the Batmobile looked, I was thinking like, man, this doesn't look like a traditional Batmobile. It looked like just like a car, and blah blah blah. But seeing it in the movie, for some reason
it became a character.
Yes, as basic as it was, it had enough on there to just like, yes, that's the Batmobile. That thing is a beast.
And the thing is that I appreciate that it's not outlandish.
Yeah.
Because to the practicality of leaving your ridiculously Batman-y Batmobile off in an alley, it's going to cause attention. That car is still noticeably odd.
Yeah, right.
But it's not like, oh, that's clearly Batman's car.
Yeah.
Right.
I like how that thing is just.
I also just loved how many times he's riding around on a motorcycle, not in a Batman outfit. Yeah. Right? Because he's laying low, he's tracking people. You can't do that as fucking Batman on a motorcycle, which does happen. I feel like he has a totally different bike for that, right? Riding with the cape and everything. But he's just like, he's on the street. He's clearly like covering up and taking off and covering up and taking off the Batman outfit so he can pass on the street.
Right.
I loved that. And at the end, after him and Selena are like, hey, you should stick around, she's like, you can come with me. And it's that classic like, yeah, you're gonna play Batboy. Okay, you go be Batboy. And then they're riding their motorcycles out of the cemetery, and he catches up, and then she pulls ahead, and then he pulls ahead. It's like they're still flirting with each other. So all the way through, they get to the gate of the cemetery, and it's from behind, and they pause, and they both stop, and they put a leg down on their bike, and then she pulls out left.
He goes right.
And he goes right. So it's like, in the scene, in the memoriam, like, he tells her his choice, but then the drive out of the cemetery, there's still like a will they, won't they. Like, it's really good cinematography. Like, you're communicating so much of like, but he could go with her. He could. We know he's not, but you can see the tension there, the desire to go with her.
Yeah.
As she put it, to go have fun and knock over some billionaires and CEOs. Start with Bruce.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how they really had the bad guys as politicians and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was just very real world in a way. It's almost one of those kind of things where, once again, where the villain is doing something that you're not exactly mad at. And so it's just, it's like,
grievance bad guy, right? Right. It's Killmonger. Killmonger was grievance bad guy, and he took it way too far. And Riddler wasn't outlandish. Like, his plan is convoluted, right? Yeah. But he's not outlandish. He doesn't have this big giant green suit. Like, he's evocative, like, of the Zodiac Killer.
Or Hush. He reminded me of Hush with his face wrapped.
Well, there was
wrapped up.
literally in one of like the montage, not montage.
I saw the word
the
hush on there.
collage, hush, and I
Hush
was
was
like,
on there.
yeah, because someone was like, it was my buddy Esteban, like the night before I saw it. He was like, well, it could be Hush, because that's a whole thing where Hush impersonated Riddler, da 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 da. And I was like,
Right.
oh, could be. So when I saw Hush, I was like, oh, but it was Hush, as in Hush the reporter, like make him
Yeah.
stop talking. So
Yeah, but they know that Riddler normally doesn't have a mask like that, so you know,
right?
they play with a lot of stuff that if you know what you're looking at or know the references, you kind of like, okay, it's a nod, and you just
Right.
take it. I liked Gordon. Jeffrey Wright did a great job.
He did a great job. He does a great job in everything.
Yeah. I like how they worked together and they were kind of figuring things out together, and I like how they moved together. I thought it was really, really cool.
Right. Both hop in their separate vehicles, and
yeah, just
the fact that Gordon, when they're in the police station and he's woken up and they're like, why shouldn't we arrest you? You need to get your guy under control, Gordon. And he's like whispered to him, he's like, all right, so you're gonna take the keys and go out that door after you punch me. It's just like, oh man, Gordon, you're signing up. And then later, it's a beautiful callback, and like, you couldn't have pulled the punch a little bit.
Right,
like, he's giving him shit.
When I saw that scene, the first thing I thought is, no way he falls asleep on the ground and wake up in the police station with all those police around him with that mask still on. I'm glad that it was, but
right.
No way.
Well, that's always the classic. Like, I've seen this joke so many times where it's like, you see the version of like all the Lord of the Rings books stacked up tall, all 3 big tomes, and it's like, there's the original version, and then there's a tiny sliver of pages off to the right where it's like, that's the version where they got on the giant birds and flew straight to Mount Doom.
Right.
I just tossed it in the volcano, which has been refuted because it doesn't fucking make sense even in context, but whatever. Yeah, the whole thing was like, oh, he gets knocked unconscious because we wrote that, and then it's like, well, why doesn't someone just rip his fucking mask off immediately? The cops, a bunch of them that don't like him, why wouldn't they do that? Because that would just like ruin the story.
Gordon was unless Gordon was there the whole time escorting
right?
him out for him. We'll give him that.
Don't touch the mask. Don't touch the mask. Hands off.
Yeah, unless it's electrified, like we've seen before too.
Right.
They try to touch it, they get zapped. But yeah, so like I said, I thought the cool part about this was the fact that even though it was 3 hours, it didn't feel like 3 hours. I thought that they touched on stuff like his mom being an Arkham and all that stuff.
Wow, yeah. I think his mom is from the Arkham family. Okay.
They brought up a lot of stuff that, like I said, that they didn't even. I don't know. It was neat that they brought it up, but then, like I said, I'm always kind of like, don't bring up questions you can't answer at the time. But it was neat. Like I said, they just kept bringing out stuff that was different than we saw in different movies.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I think it was cool. Like the whole reveal about Catwoman's father. Like, we already know that. We knew that already. So people didn't,
So speaking of really good dialogue, did you catch the line Falcone said as he was strangling Selena?
About taking out her mom?
Yeah. That was just like, it was a tragedy when your mom died, da-da-da. Like, he just lies to everyone. And I was like, oh yeah, it's a tragedy, and you had to do the same to your mother. It's like, and it wasn't even like he said it like that. It's like, I forget exactly what he said, but
he made a comment about how he feels bad about having to take out his own flesh and blood. He made a comment about
So and it was something like that, where it's just like one little line of like again, like one word. Where it's like, oh, he killed her mom too.
Yeah. So, and then I know people were saying like, saying like they thought that he knew, and I'm thinking like, I don't think he knew, because he was kind of flirting with her, and that's why I knew that he probably didn't know, because he was kind of. And
she specifically name dropped herself when she showed up with the gun. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing wasn't like, you know who I am this whole time. No. It's you've just been acting like a creepy old dude hitting on some young thing. Mm-hmm. But it's like, no, I'm letting you know. Last name Selena Kyle.
Yeah, like, you are my father.
Oh,
yeah.
That they managed to do her story well in the middle of this Batman story.
They did. And I think the reason why this movie worked, I would have enjoyed for it to even be longer. I wouldn't even trip because, like I said, some of the stuff they touched on, I would have liked to have, because like I said, in the beginning, for sure, they was just kind of noodling out, and it was just stretching it slowly and all this other kind of stuff. And like I said, you can just tell when they kind of ran out of time. So they start trying to just, let's reel this in. We got to, end this. But I love how, as tight as it was, I think it played more like a Netflix show or streaming show than it did an actual movie.
Right.
Like it didn't feel like a movie. It felt like a streaming show where we sit there and watch something and binge it and get like 10 hours of just content. It felt like that. It flowed like that, which was very nice because usually movies is not this dense.
No, it's not this dense, it's not this tight, it's not this clean.
And you're not confused. So all the stuff going on, all these different characters, all these twists and turns, all this back and forth stuff, and the character trying to figure out, we're trying to figure out behind the character and these new interpretations of characters, and you don't get lost.
Right?
Brilliant.
Or disengaged. I mean,
right.
A couple people apparently did, but whatever. Like I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Me too.
And again, it didn't have to be like action on the edge of my seat. Like there's stakes in every scene, in every line, and for all the scenes that have very little dialogue, you can still read what's going on. Right, there's still stuff happening.
And for the first time in a long time, I sat here and watched this movie for all it did, all the chances it took, all the introductions of new things and put in new ways. I can't think of one time I watched it when I thought like, that's not Batman. Not a once.
Right.
That I didn't, because sometimes I see stuff I'm like, nah, Batman wouldn't do that, or that's not a character, or not once. And I thought that was incredible to pull off for a character that's been done so many times. And
because even the Joel Schumacher Batman, like, okay, that's 60s camp. 60s camp. That tracks. May not be your particular pie, but like there is that version of Batman that is campy.
Right, because really, as much as I like Christopher Nolan's, this is more true to what I would think Batman would be, even than his. Even though his is, considered like one of the best ones.
Right.
I always felt a ways about it because his Batman kind of had like a shelf life. Like really, if you broke it down, he's only Batman for maybe 3 or 4 years, and he retired that quick, and then ran off to the sunset. And that always kind of bothered me. I always felt weird about that. It's like, okay, he dealt with this, he dealt with that. But that's in the same year because he introduced the Joker in the first one on the rooftop. So it wasn't that much time span. It wasn't that big of a time span.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I think between the second and third movie, there's a couple of years that are supposed to pass, but still, yeah, it's not.
But I'm talking about active Batman, not him being in the Lazarus pit, not him being a recluse because he's all busted up and not want to leave his house. I'm not talking about during that time. I'm talking about active on the street Batman because they ran him off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very interesting. So it's like parts of that movie I liked, but I never felt like, but this right here, so far what they did, I'm like, he sees Batman like I see Batman in a way, or he has a lot of interpretations and feeling and vibes for.
Did Matt Reeves write it as well? Was he the screenwriter?
He was one of the writers. Yeah, it was him, and I think it was Peter Craig and I think him and Peter Craig.
Well, clearly, I would say the writing is on par with Nolan's Dark Knight, right? Mm-hmm. Like with Heath Ledger's Joker, not performance-wise for Joker, that still is.
Oh yeah.
But as far as the tightness of the writing, right, the intricacy of it, right, not a wasted line. Same thing with the Batman with Matt Reeves.
Yeah, and it's a trick because Christopher Nolan, he had like the most realistic, because people were really loving it because that was his interpretation of a real world Batman. Mm-hmm. Like he stepped it up, and who would have thought he could go even further? And here we are.
Right.
And here we are. Yeah, I can't wait to see what's next for this. I can't wait to see it again. Like I said, when I saw it, I just couldn't help but just kept milling over it and just wanting to see it again because it was just like, and it went down smoothly. Like I said, usually, especially if you know stuff, it's always this crunch. You're fighting what you know versus what you're seeing. It's this constant fight. You can't even relax because you just. Act like you didn't see that.
It's like,
This
does
not
this
quite
track
right, or
with
this
my
is-
catalog of Batman knowledge? I'm like, no, that's
Right.
weird. That's out of place. And it's like,
Right,
it is oddly a new but not new interpretation of Batman.
right. It fed me along the way, so my mind couldn't just be tearing it apart.
It's not even just like they've got the character of Batman, like his essential core components. Alfred, death of his parents, blah 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 blah. You could go down the list. He's got all the essentials, right? Even like his shooting, his as we see here, we still get growth from the I am vengeance to hope, right? Something else. But the same for Catwoman, the same for the Penguin, the same for the Riddler. Sure, they messed around with Riddler's backstory, I presume, but like all the characterizations worked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Nothing was like, well, that's weird. That's a little off. Like the rest is okay. It was like, nope, that's Penguin. That's so and so. That's so and so.
Yeah, I love the interpretations, and I can't wait to see what they do next. And like I said, because they even had the mob element in there.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
The mob element in this one actually worked better, I feel like, than the mob element in Christopher Nolan's Batman. Because,
well, you actually see how this was intertwined with everything.
It wasn't just vaguely like we're the mob and we do things. It's like
there was levels to it. We kind of saw how it was.
Yeah.
Even to the underground clubs and how things mingled and how they kind of tied into each other, how everybody's greedy, grabbing for the money and got sloppy. And it was nicely done.
You get to see the mob in action. The mob as an organization was a character in this movie.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. One thing about Catwoman, I didn't care for I thought their first kiss was a little awkward. I was surprised about that kiss.
I think that was up on the tower that was under construction, right?
Yeah, and she just kind of went for it.
I don't think that's out of character with Catwoman because she's the one that's slightly more impulsive, right? Bruce is classically the I am iron-willed, reserved. This is not a good idea because it gets in the way of me Batmaning all the way through the night.
Right.
And she's the one like, I kind of steal from people. Like, but he's done enough where he's gone from the I'm forcing you to do this infiltration thing to looking after and clearly showing that he cares about her, even when she's going to do things that he just explicitly disagrees with, right? Trying to kill the cop. I don't remember if that kiss happens before that part, but at that point, like, clearly she's picking up that he cares about her, right? Not just as some random citizen, but he cares about her, right? He's giving them the mascara, not quite puppy dog eyes, but like you get why she would be attracted to fucking Batman. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So she went for the kiss. Like it didn't throw me off. But yeah.
Well, he definitely felt for her because he gave himself that adrenaline shot for her, and he got up and started beating people down because he thought she was going to be in danger.
So there's always this thing in movies where if the writer, if the director can get me to, for one moment, to go, oh shit, are they gonna fucking kill that person? Right? Because like Batman's safe. But you look at the situation of that scene, this is the big fight at the end. He's taken, again, body armor, but he took a double-barreled shotgun to the chest.
Yes.
And then he's about to get shot again, and Selena jumps in, right? It's set up like a minute before that she's seen how to climb up to the scaffolding. She just comes to the rescue. But the other guy gets the upper hand, and you can cut, like, Bruce is on his back. You can see the Riddler goon is on top of her, and you see him pull a knife out of his boot.
Yeah, and he can't.
And then it cuts away back to Bruce because Bruce is like, like just trying to breathe.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he can't get it together, so he just reaches in, gets an adrenaline thing. And again, we called this out after we were in the movie, he has a port specifically to bypass his armor so he can inject it in like an EpiPen. And then he just like roids out and just pops up and just like decks the guy. But it's like in that moment of like, I see them pull the knife out of the boot. It's like a punch dagger. And I'm just like, oh shit. Like, are they going to kill her? Are they going to kill her? Are they really doing that? Like it's you jump out of the movie a little bit to the meta level of like, oh shit, are they really going to kill Catwoman?
Right. They blew up Alfred. Anything's possible.
Right. Right. But like you have those moments like, oh shit, like they could actually die.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you would want, but you got, cynical genre savvy people like me like, oh, they're not going to kill so-and-so. You just got to get me for half a second. Like, applause. Good job. And it's like, oh shit. You look at that scene, regardless of genre savvy, and it's like the guy has her pinned down and he's got a knife and Batman's out of action. She's dead. Right? Like maybe she does shenanigans, like hits him in the groin, whatever, but it doesn't look that way. The camera of the scene is not telling us that she's got it handled.
Right. This movie did well at that, because I felt the same way about Gordon's boss, even though he has to die.
Oh yeah.
Because he got to become the commissioner. So, but you still was kind of worried and wondering, because you would think Batman's steadily trying to stop these killings from happening. And every time he's, either too late or he's actually there and it's happening right in front of him.
Oh man, the DA.
Yeah.
He's like a couple feet away from the DA when the bomb goes off.
That was brilliant. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
Because it's like, oh, he's going to disarm it. Nope. Boom.
Oh, I thought it was hella crazy when the DA is getting asked these questions, and Batman can help him answer the questions.
Right, the riddles.
And then he gave his answer, but his answer is kind of vague, and Batman kept pressing him. Who told? Who told?
Right.
Who's the stool pigeon? Who's the stool pigeon?
Get to the answer, and he's like, I can't tell them. Like they're gonna go after my family. They're gonna da.
Or was it the question about how much or something? Because he's like saying something.
Oh, yeah,
he's
10K.
like, and he said, so for who to who? He said he didn't ask that question. I answered this question.
Right?
He's like, I gonna give you the extra
information.
I'm not gonna give you the extra information. So it's like, regardless, I'm not gonna incriminate myself.
Right.
Even though you want me to, I answered his question. So he went to the next question, but it was just so funny because he, instead of thinking like, I'll just give him everything because I want to live.
Right.
He was thinking in his head, well, no, I gave him the answer. That's not part of the question. That's not part of the question.
Right? He's treating it like he's a lawyer, which he's a DA. So he's like,
so
no, that wasn't the question.
So lawyers are going to lawyer, but it's just so funny. Even in a time of he could possibly die, he's still being a politician. He's still trying to slick talk.
Peter Sarsgaard?
Yes.
That was a great performance.
Yes,
like,
it was.
He's going back to a different DC movie, Green Lantern, which he was also in.
Right.
His was the best performance out of that whole movie. He did a great job in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, and was it played Falcone? Like, I forget his name. He is a really great actor, and we got to see it here. Yeah. But it's like, I feel like the last time I saw him was in fucking Transformer being pissed on by Bumblebee. And it's like, dude.
Yeah. John Turturro.
There we go.
He did too many good Spike Lee movies. He is a great character actor. I love Paul Dano. I've been loving him. Andy Serkis and Colin Farrell. I know he wore a lot of makeup to be the Penguin, but you could not tell.
Oh, man.
He played through that makeup. Yeah, man.
I think the car chase was pretty phenomenal. At this point, I zone out most car chases. It's like, all right, they're going to chase.
Yeah.
But I feel like, so there's always this question of, when I'm watching a scene, whose scene is it? Who am I supposed to be following, connecting with? And sometimes that, with complex scenes, it changes, right, within the scene. But generally, like, you're following one person through that scene, right?
Yeah.
That scene was Penguin's scene. Because even though there's shots of Bruce, especially when he like hits the afterburner, like he's making, you see that decision of like, I got to commit to this and make this into a ramp, which was fucking badass.
I loved it.
But most of that chase was Penguin's reactions, right? Did amazing job of him going from, I got away, oh shit, he's back. I'm stuck behind this. I gotta, like, he was all over the place.
Yeah.
And it kept you in, right? It was like a good fight scene where you only know who's winning by who is the other person that's freaking out, right? You know who's losing, right?
Right,
and he
right,
goes
right.
from like, I got away, I didn't get away. Oh, okay. Oh, we're going in oncoming traffic. I'm gonna get over here. I missed it. Like it. For the most part, Bruce is just calmly being stoic Batman. It's Penguin that makes that all work, especially the end where he causes the tanker explosion. He's like, I got you, motherfucker. I got away.
I got you.
You got you. And then the Batmobile just comes through the fireball and his jaw just hits the bottom of the floor. And he's like,
Right. It was crazy. Yeah, man. Yeah, because even the way they shot the scenes when Bruce was on his bike, even the camera angles and stuff, you could tell that he loves
There's
making
energy
movies.
in it too.
Right, you could
There's
tell
energy in it.
It wasn't traditional shots the way they were shot. So they probably had some kind of mini camera for some of those shots, because some of them you could tell they were like attached to the near the wheel and stuff. It's just the angles and stuff. It was really clean. I liked it. I like when a simple shot is somebody find a new way to do it.
Well, I feel like John Frankenheimer, one of my favorite directors, who did Ronin, which has like, I don't know, a 10-minute car chase in it, like would give proud applause to the motorcycle stuff and the car chase stuff. Like it was. And if you want funny angles, when he did do the squirrel suit, there was a shot where like clearly the camera is supposed to be attached to his helmet,
right?
Because his head is frozen in the frame, but you see the rest of him in the background moving because the camera is locked onto like his head essentially.
I didn't mind that though.
No, it worked.
Yeah,
it made the flight look chaotic.
Yeah.
Whereas he's calm, right? He's the eye of the storm.
Right. No, I dug it.
Matt Reeves can walk down Hollywood and just get high fives for like the next week.
That's right. That's right.
Bag of money for the next movie.
And so the last thing we will discuss, one of the final scenes where the Riddler has a friend. A friend. They have a laugh over a riddle.
Right.
I could have did without that. It didn't take away from it, but it's almost kind of like you juggled so much and you got away with it.
Right? Just let the movie
Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Right?
Leave it alone. Especially when it's going to be like, they even went further than just letting you hear, but they even kind of give a obscure glance. And
we're talking about the Joker.
Right. We're talking about the Joker. And it's kind of like, unless it's like a mind-blowing cameo with some actor that you would never expect in a million years, don't do that.
Right. I swore I was I know that voice. Who is it? I was looking in the credits. Didn't see Joker named at all. I'm sure it's uncredited. I'm sure someone will be like, "Oh, so and so."
Okay. Do you see Eternals?
Yeah.
And the dude that was doing the mind controlling of people, he had the village of people mind control.
Yeah.
It's him.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, he has an interesting look. He's almost kind of like an Ezra Miller type, kind of different kind of looking dude.
I would have been okay if they had just ended the movie.
Yes.
I get that they're like, they're doing a little cliffhanger tease of like, next time it might be Riddler and the Joker, but it's like, hey, we got a Joker, like just to be sure we got a Joker, because everyone knows Joker's this big bag arch nemesis. Joker.
Yeah, but what Joker is it? To me, it was enough to have like the kids with the Joker painted faces. Like, is that part of that Joker, or is it not part of that Joker? Right. Does that whole little thing that got popular, the Joker picks it up and uses it as his thing too, or falls into a vat of chemicals and he really gets messed up? Like,
his
don't
face
start.
Fucked up.
It did. So it's almost like, don't start stuff, because we kind of came to a head and it came to a conclusion. Let's leave with that. It was full. It was a full.
I would have been happy with that if they had done, and of course we stayed all the way through the end credits.
Of course.
And there was nothing. I'm I'm trying to remember.
He said something like "go home" or "goodbye" or something with a question mark.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was the end question mark. And it was all the Riddler's web font.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 100% right as it flashed out. There was another URL.
It was something. Yeah, something did.
I couldn't catch it. It was way too fast. I'm sure.
Online, for sure.
But if they'd just done that, I'd have been fine with it. Or move the whole Riddler Joker thing at the very end.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a break between the wrap up and then the tease at the very end of the credits. But it's like minor quibble on an otherwise amazing movie.
I'm just saying they did a great job, and other movies would need something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't stand the whole movie, but they're gonna have the Joker next. I can't wait. It didn't need it. It did a great job. No need to show off.
I bet you that was an executive making that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Like, by the way, you need to tease
that movie. The beauty of that movie is that you didn't even need the Joker. You know how good your movie would have to be not to have Batman's main villain? They did a damn good job. Consider me impressed, and I can't wait for the next one.
I'm gonna have to go and figure out what other movies Matt Reeves has done.
He did a Planet of the Apes movie.
Oh, that's right.
He's a great writer and he's a great director. He did the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I'm trying to think about the second or third one. And then he also did, the first movie I ever saw him do was Cloverfield. And I love that movie.
Oh, that was him. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on point. I like his
kicked off the whole found footage genre.
Mm-hmm. In a brilliant way, because that one, it's his first time in a long time. He figured out a way to do it for today. And it was just, it was ahead of his time. Much needed too.
Yeah.
And I always thought that they should have made a part 2 to that. And I always thought, like, when they showed the people running through the city and all this and dealing with people, and they kept running into the military and stuff and all that kind of mess.
Right.
I'm like, why not just have the military camera people? They're filming the other part. So when they're filming their side of the army part, when they're fighting the monsters, you see like those kids running past him and stuff.
You could have done the Rashomon version of Cloverfield. Right? Where you get to see that whole catastrophe of a night from a multitude of angles.
Exactly. So I thought it would have been cool if they did a part 2 like that, and you run across the people that you saw in the first one on their side of it.
Yeah.
But he did a great job, and bravo. I can't wait to see this again. And it's a 3-hour movie, and yes, I'm going to go back and see it again. If I could have saw it again this weekend, I sure would have.
I'm very glad that when I was going to concessions, because I didn't have time to eat in the morning, got my hot dog, got my junior mints, and I got my drink, and I was like, I am not gonna touch the drink until like halfway through the movie.
Smart.
And it worked out. I didn't have to run out at any point. Did not torture my bladder.
Man, that's the first time I had to run out of a movie in forever. I never do. I had a long morning. I had coffee, and I didn't think about it. And then I was trying to get stuff together for the day, and
pack the kids up.
And it's right around the time when Alfred was in the hospital. I was thinking, like, if I don't go now, if I don't go,
I'm gonna end up in the hospital.
It's gonna be a bad look, and it's gonna be around people that I care for and.
All your friends. You literally invited everyone that was there.
Right. It would have been a bad look. And I was like, I can't go out like that. But I can't believe it because I never. I tell you, man, like I sat through Lord of the Rings and all the rest of that. I never leave during a movie like that. I had evidence of hour and a half already, if not more, of it's just lean. So I'd never been so afraid in my life because I knew that
I'm gonna miss a critical moment.
I'm gonna miss something. Ain't no way this movie's so tight. I'm gonna miss something. But boy, I ran down that hall so fast. I just like it was just crazy. But that says something about the movie too, because I didn't want to miss a second, and I knew that the way it was put together, that they wasn't playing games. It wasn't wasting anything, and I appreciate that. I appreciate people who appreciate my time.
Right.
Yeah,
that's definitely got our money's worth.
Highest form of respect, and I thank him for that because with the way things been lately, telling what we're gonna get and how we're gonna get it. So to be able to pull off a Batman movie that felt new, that gave us everything we wanted to see and feel in 3 hours.
Yeah, that's a feat. Squeezing in what feels like a Netflix series, like you said.
Man, you found the way. You found the way. Well, all right, Mr. Ryan, do you have any final words or anything for us tonight?
Oh, no funny quips, I think. We blathered on long enough. It, again, to my point about usually not being able to say much about a good film after you walk out of it, aside from, a handful of things were nice. Like, we just talked for 2 hours? Nearly 2 hours?
Yep.
We're always like, yeah, we're just going to talk for an hour tonight. Yeah, no.
I knew it was a lie when I said it, but I had to put it out there. I had to put it out there anyway. I ain't mad at it. It's worthy of it. So, all the talking we did is well worth it. If you're on the fence about seeing it, go see it for sure.
Absolutely.
If you like Batman, go see it. If you love Batman, go see it. If you hate Batman, go see it. I think that if you've seen other Batman films and wasn't feeling like it wasn't quite what you expected or wanted, I think this is going to have you covered.
If the Snyder Batman in particular, being the most recent one, left a sour taste in your mouth.
It did for a lot of folks.
This is your palate cleanser.
Yeah.
This is your palate cleanser. Do enjoy.
All right, brother. It was good catching up with you as always. Look forward to our next conversation.
Hell yeah.
And until next time, peace.
Out.
You're crazy.
Heck yeah.
I love it. Hey, it's Jay. If you enjoyed my conversation with Ryan, please check out our episodes where we talked about the Book of Boba Fett, Spider-Man No Way Home, and the movie Batman. Thanks for listening, and until next time, peace.